Good morning everyone, good afternoon and good evening. Today is Friday. We are starting the weekend and we are gonna start the weekend as we continue our no camera strike due to this insufferable heat that has been plaguing my town and apparently the entirety of Europe, and why not the entirety of the planet apparently. What we have to go over today is a bunch of changes for several classes in Dragonflight. That's right, it is bringing back some memories of what we were doing on this channel at this point almost 2 years ago, 1.5 or so years ago in the beta of Shadowlands, where we were going through the balancing that Blizzard was doing right before the expansion released. And it's good to see that even the alpha, even 10 something days into the alpha, we have already gotten a whole bunch of changes for the already seen classes and specs, but also some of the further data mining of all of the specs and classes that we have not seen yet. We haven't seen Demon Hunter, we haven't seen Mage, Monk, Paladin, Warlock and Warrior. Even though we haven't seen them, the Dragonflight Alpha has given us some sneak peeks, some data mining of what's going to be available. For example, which are going to be the available Covenant abilities returning for Demon Hunter, for example, or for Paladin, for example. These are things we have been able to see already, even though the entirety of the talent trees are not available for testing yet. What we can show first is the changes, the improvements in the talent tree that we have to go back to because we talked quite badly about Hunter. I showed my first review of the Hunter talents, and I said they were the worst ones of the talents we have seen so far because they were quite uninspiring. There were too many boring talents, too many bland, soulless percentage increases, plenty of 2-point talents or even 3-point talents that felt very, very bad to take. It's good to know that even after just a week we have gotten a bunch of changes by Blizzard for the Hunter talent trees. And the main one to compare already is the general tree of Hunter compared to the old tree of Hunter before Blizzard changed it. Right from the get-go, right from the bat, we can see that a series of, let's just say, bloat talents have been changed. For example, the awful 3-point talent for Mend Pet has been turned into a 2-point talent. The 3-point talent for movement speed has now turned into a 2-point talent for movement speed. Chimera Shot has been moved away from here. Now it's just in the Marksmanship tree. We have seen Scare Beast is now no longer a mandatory pick right down this line, but now it's just on the side if you want to avoid it. You have some more power now into the talent tree. For example, agility increased by up to 4%. Sure, it's boring. It doesn't really change anything about your class or spec or anything, but at the very least it gives you some extra damage, right? So compared to what you had before, the start of course is very, very similar. It's in fact the exact same up to the first block. Nothing really is changing. Even the second block has remained mostly the same. The main change is of course the Mend Pet being easier to take. Now with Scare Beast being put on the side, now you can take your agility increase to get into your pet damage, which went from 3 points to 2 points, so now it's gonna also be easier to take. Rest of the stuff down here has basically remained exactly the same, but at the very least we have started to see that was the whole point. We are starting to see some changes in terms of ease of use for the general tree, but the biggest change didn't go to survival or didn't go to beast mastery, which have remained mostly the same. The biggest change goes to marksmanship. So the marksmanship tree has changed quite a bit. Even from the eye test you can see here the difference is already coming up. The start is exactly the same talent points all the way up to here. Here we already start seeing some slight changes because here's the Chimera Shot that was taken away from the General Hunter tree, making its appearance in the Marksmanship Hunter tree. Luckily it's not in a very annoying position you can take it or you can ditch it and just ignore it. It's not really gonna hurt anything. We have a swap already. One of the things we complained about was this entire line that was gonna be necessary if you wanted to take all of the stuff for your rapid fire, which was a total of 5 different talent points. Now, if you want to still go down that road, you can take rapid fire, you can take streamline, which is still here, and you can take your surging shots. So now you have 1 less talent point to spend here, because this one, which gave you more focus per every hit of rapid fire, is gone. It's also easier now, it's more manageable. For example, multi-shot is now right next to volley and right next to trick shots. So your AoE stuff is now all here. Previously, multi-shot was right in between kill shot, critical strike chance, and arcane shot and multi-shot damage, which is good because this is very bad. Another main change is double tap. This is where double tap was before, and this is where double tap is now. It is much more manageable to reach now. Like this, it gives you the option also to go for steady focus and to go for lone wolf. Another change is Serpent Stalker's Trickery was right after lone wolf. Now, right after lone wolf, you have lock and load. Previously, you had this very annoying thing where you could take lone wolf, Serpent Stalker's Trickery, and then having to go a different route to get to lock and load. Now, you can just do it like this. No problem whatsoever. Another big change was the complaint about the Legacy of the Windrunner Legion artifact passive talent, which in here took you a grand total of 5 skill points. 5. You have 10 total to spend in here. You have 10 points, and 5 had to be spent just for the Legacy talents. Now, instead, the points are just 3. So it's much simpler, much more manageable to just take them all rather than having to spend 5 of them. Another change was this one, which was the empowerment of your kill shot. Now it's been removed completely, so you have even less point to spend down here to make it smoother for you to go down there. Another one, salvo. This one was previously 2 charges, now it's been turned into a 1 charge. This one was previously 2 charges, now your crit damage is increased by 2%, but it's just 1 charge at the very least. There is also a major change when it comes to late talents. Before, this one, which was this one right here, light and heavy ammo. So choosing if your trick shots want to be more AoE focused or more single target focused, it was followed by double tap. But now double tap is here. So what's gonna happen to this one? It gets quite an interesting talent option. Explosive ricochet, up to 2 targets hit by a ricochet from your trick shots also have now an explosive shot. Fire at them. The other option, killer ricochet, trick shots now also works with kill shot, hitting up to 5 additional enemies for 55% of the original damage. Quite interesting because throughout this talent lineup, you have passives and effects to increase the damage of your kill shot, right? This one, Killing Blow, makes your kill shot have a 20% increased critical strike chance. This one gives you a second charge of kill shot. This one right here, Death Blow, makes your aim shot have a 10% chance to grant a charge of kill shot and cause your next kill shot to be usable on any target, regardless of their current health. So this one makes much more sense, right? It's much more themed around the rest of your talents, in this case, kill shot damage. So even just after a few days, we have gotten a significantly improved, I guess, plan for what marksmanship hunters can get in their talent tree. I wanted to go over this because it was very important to show just exactly what it means to be in an alpha. We get the talents for hunter. The talents for hunter look like shit. However, after we get past the disappointment of the talents being bad, we can still remind ourselves that it's 4 months left for the expansion to be released. These were just alpha talents, and in less than 10 days we have gotten a quite decent improvement on how things are, at the very least for talents, and at the very least for marksmanship in particular when it comes to hunter. Now, talking about the data mining of the other classes not currently available for testing, not even their talent trees have been data mined, we can see some things already. Number one, for Demon Hunter, we can see the data mining that shows us that the chosen Covenant ability to be put in their talent trees is going to be the Hunt. So the Night Fae Covenant ability seems to be the chosen one for Demon Hunter right now. However, we don't really have any other news about Demon Hunter. At the moment, we don't even have news about Warlock whatsoever. What we do have news about is Paladin, because the two Datamined abilities present in the files are Divine Toll, and not just Divine Toll, but Vanquisher's Hammer as well. So, might be quite interesting. These, of course, are very likely the two most thematic abilities of Paladin. I don't think Blizzard wanted to continue their headache of bringing Ashen Hallow in Dragonflight, so I think these two were the most logical options for Covenant abilities for Paladin. Nothing really is known yet. Nothing is known yet for Holy Paladin and for Red Paladin. We do have some things known about Protection Paladin. There are a few interesting things, like enemies hit by Avenger's Shield deal 5% reduced damage to you, up to 3 stacks. This pretty much means most of your enemies will do 15% less damage to you, especially in the raid. This is a very good damage reduction for single target or for fewer targets. It's very powerful. Also, other interesting things like Avenger's Shield deals 200% increased damage but only strikes one target, so that the single target damage build is still there for Protection Paladin. Another cool option for Prot at the moment is something I would like to see, especially if it has an even more shiny effect, as if Prot Paladin isn't already one of the shinier specs to play. Tears Enforcer, your Avenger's Shield is imbued with Holy Fire, causing it to deal extra attack power damage to all enemies within 5 yards of each target hit. So you can take Soaring Shield to make your Avenger's Shield jump to 2 extra targets, and then this talent right here to make them blow up 5 yards around them for damage. It's gonna be quite cool, especially if there is some special effect for Prot Paladin. More data mining goes to Warrior. Warrior seems to be the choice for the Covenant option of Kyrian, because Spear of Bastion is what has been data mined as the Covenant of choice in Dragonflight for Warriors. I would say kind of, yeah, this is also perhaps the more thematic of the abilities of Warrior, if I had to look at all of the Covenant abilities. A few interesting things worth mentioning is that, for example, Thunderclap is now going to be class-wide, so Fury and Arms are now going to be able to take Thunderclap as an ability, which, you know, it does AoE, right, to all enemies. It has a 6-second cooldown. Sure, it costs Rage, perhaps it's gonna be terrible, but maybe it's gonna be good even for damage specs of Warrior. Another interesting thing is Signet of Tormented Kings. One of your legendaries is going to be available to all 3 of the specs in the general Warrior 3. That's going to be quite interesting to give this to all the 3 specs, not as a choice in your specific spec 3. There is an interesting effect. Perhaps it might have some even stronger use in PvP. This Fatality talent, your Mortar Strike abilities against enemies above 30% health have a very high chance to apply Fatality. When an enemy falls below 30% health, your next execute inflicts an additional 100% attack power per stack. So if you guys remember this trinket right here from Orgozoa in Eternal Palace, which was a nightmare to balance around, this kind of feels like it. It kind of feels like it. You stick to an enemy for ages until it drops finally to 30% HP and then takes a massive amount of damage because of all the stacks you gained from this talent right here. A cool passive, one of the highlights passives for Fury is Juggernaut. Execute increases the damage dealt of Execute by 3% for 8 seconds, stacking up 99 times. So if this plays out, I guess Warrior will continue to stay the Execute class, or the Execute spec for Fury at the very least, in Dragonflight. An interesting couple of options for Protection Warriors are the Wall and Unbreakable Will. So the Wall is the coming back legendary. Interestingly enough, so far there is no sight of Reprisal, which has been extremely powerful for Protection Warrior, but not quite enjoyed by a few too many Prot Warriors because of the idea of having to use your mobility to gain defensiveness essentially. So it doesn't seem to be there yet, but for the moment it's not really here. And then Unbreakable Will, which is the talent that makes your shield wall get one more charge, but also have a 50% effectiveness to all of your party members, which can be quite good. The last of the highlights, the last of the Datamined highlights go on Mage. The two covenants for Mage, the covenant abilities so far that likely are going to be in, are going to be Radiant Spark, so the Kyrian ability, and Shifting Power, the Night Fae ability. So no Ventir and no Necrolord. An interesting effect in the General 3 is something of an homage of a talent Arcane Mage already had. It's Time Anomaly. At any moment, you have a chance to gain Arcane Surge for 6 seconds, Clear Casting or Combustion for 5 seconds, 1 Fire Blast charge, Icy Veins for 8 seconds, Fingers of Frost, or Time Warp Bloodlust for 6 seconds. This is gonna be quite weird to see how it's gonna play out. An interesting effect I am not too much of a fan of, however, is Mass Polymorph. Transforms all enemies within 10 yards into sheep wandering around, blah blah blah, etc, etc, etc. So it's a mass polymorph which supposedly has a 1.5-1.7 second cast time. It can be quite good, you know, even in Mythic Plus, in a pack, it might not seem that powerful, but it still works as a mass interrupt if the enemies can be polymorphed, so it can have quite a good effect. At the end of the day, it's just one extra utility you are giving to Mage, so I wouldn't throw it away as a talent, especially if it's a 1-point talent that doesn't really hinder you too much. One of the cool highlights for the data mining of Arcane Mage is Arcane Surge. Expend all of your current mana to annihilate your enemy target and nearby enemies for up to 268 times 2 spell power, arcane damage based on the mana spent. Deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets, and for the next 12 seconds after using Arcane Surge, your mana regen is increased by 450% and your spell damage is increased by 10%. Seems like a quite thematic ability for Arcane Mage, yet another cooldown given to Arcane Mage. We will see exactly just how powerful this is going to play out to be. One of the things that perhaps might not be that fun for Arcane Mages because it gives them some memories of another annoying trinket, and again from Eternal Palace, the Ajara's Font of Power, this is Siphon Storm. Evocation is going to give you stacking intellect 2% every second for how long you are channeling evocation. So this seems to be coming back in Dragonflight. Interesting point for Mages, Blaster Master is coming back as a talent ability, giving you stacking mastery whenever you're using Fire Blast. This was the nightmare of balancing by the end of BFA as an Azerite trait for Fire Mages. Another ramp up burst effect is Fire Mind. Consuming Hot Streak grants you 2% increased intellect, stacking up 3 times. So more or less, it's a 6% permanent intellect increase, basically. Interestingly enough, for Fire Mages, Sun King's Blessing is returning. After consuming 8 Hot Streaks, your next Pyroblast within 15 seconds gives you Combustion for 6 seconds. So this is returning as well. Those have been the main standout Datamine talents for me when it comes to Fire Mage. Last is Frost Mage. Frost Mage has a return legendary in Slick Ice, so your single target Frostbolt spam legendary is going to come back as a talent for Frost Mage. Another returning thing is the help to continuously run Icy Veins in the background, because Icy Propulsion, your conduit, is back. While Icy Veins is active, your damaging single target crits reduce the cooldown of Icy Veins by 2 seconds. And another legendary makes a comeback with Freezing Winds. While Frozen Orb is active, you gain Fingers of Frost every 2 seconds. So in the end, so far to me, these have been the most standout data-mined additions in Dragonflight for all of these classes that have not gotten their full talent trees revealed yet. There are quite a few important and you know, well-awaited and well-requested returns for several of these classes. The only ones we really don't know too much about are Warlock and Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter, at best, the Covenant choice for the talents, but then nothing else. Same for Warlock. The other classes, we have seen a lot of it. In some cases, almost all of the talents, we just don't have them arranged into a talent tree yet. For example, the Warrior General tree or the Paladin General tree is quite filled at the moment, but we have still quite a bit to go. But I just wanted to take some time in this video to show a few of the yet to be released specs and yet to be released classes, and what do they have to show for themselves so far, what the Blizzard is planning to put on them in the talent trees of Dragonflight, in case you were wondering which of the Covenant abilities your class was going to go for in Dragonflight, or perhaps if certain legendaries were making a comeback. This so far is all of the data mining that has been done for these classes, for their talent trees in Dragonflight. So, with this being said, I am going to leave you to the rest of your weekend, I guess the start of the weekend, to everyone who believes that the weekend starts on Friday, or at the very least Friday afternoon/evening. A big round of applause, as usual, to all of my patrons helping me and helping me grow this channel as well. It is obviously a quite important season, this one will be, as we get deeper into the alpha. I'm sure one day, eventually, I will get an invite, and then we get into the beta and into the release. It's going to be a very busy period for content, for showing a whole different bunch of things in-game. Eventually, one day, I will start streaming as well. Very likely, by the time we get into the beta, my stream is going to be up and running as well. You can also continue to support me even more by liking and commenting on this video, as usual, as per the rules of YouTube, as well as subscribing to the channel itself. For further support, I am available on Twitter, and to subscribe to my Patreon down at these links as well. With this whole set of social engineering done, we can leave each other for today. Thank you guys, of course, for watching. See you guys soon, and in the meantime, it's really weird. In the morning and in the afternoon, it's like 37 degrees and it's somewhat hot. But then we get into the evening, we get into the night, it's supposed to be 27, 28 degrees, and it's somewhat even hotter. How? How?